som tänker stöka där borta om det.
Det förstår jag inte.
Men sådär, ska vi köra igång?
Let's do.
Ja, det gör vi. Hej, välkomna! Jag heter Lavina, men vi är här idag för att prata med Marie Louise som är författare till boken Hjärtats slag. Den första boken i serien Hjärtats arv, en trilogi. Precis.
Yep.
Och Marie Louise är danska och jag är svensk. Och jag är inte så bra på danska och Marie Louise säger att hon inte är så bra på svenska. Så vi tänkte ta det här på engelska. Så att vi alla förstår hyfsat.
Hopefully.
Så, just det. Ni får jättegärna ställa frågor i chatten under tiden. Så ska vi försöka besvara dem på slutet. Ska kolla om det var något mer jag skulle säga nu i början här. Just det, jag tänkte säga det att nästa bok i serien, för er som har lyssnat och väntar på nästa del, kommer någon gång i slutet av året eller början av 2024. Så håll ut, den kommer. Den är under översättning. Så, nu ska vi se. Inga konstiga kommentarer om ljud eller sånt. Bra, ni verkar höra. Toppen, då kör vi. Hi Marie Louise.
Hi.
Hello. Good to have you here.
Good to have you here because you're actually in my country today.
Yeah. We arrived at Copenhagen today. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, please, can you tell us about yourself and you as an author?
Yes. Well, I've always been writing since I was a kid. My first book was for my little sister, where I wrote her a whole book of fairy tales, and I was probably around 12. But then for a lot of years I wanted to be an actress. Yes, I've wanted to be everything, So now I can just put it in books, all of it. But then around 6 years ago, I was on a maternity leave, and I was like, what is going to happen with my life? And then I wrote this. I had made a film, and then I made that into a synopsis, and then sent it to a competition at Mofibo, which is the Danish Storytel. And then they called me and said they wanted to work with me. And so I wrote the one you've been listening to, and then 2 more in 5 years. Yeah. I've been busy.
Really? You've been busy, yeah. So, was it a film from the beginning?
Mm-hmm. Well, I made a short film. Inspired by Mrs. Dalloway, actually, the story, Virginia Woolf's story, where this one day for 3 women, something, a big decision have to be made, like life-altering decisions. And that's actually Agatha, Natalie, and Mona.
Mona.
Yeah. And then Mark and Maya, they were added to the story. Yeah. So yeah. That's how it started.
So how did you get the inspiration and the idea for the film and that became the book?
I've always...
That was Dalloway, sorry, you told us about Mrs. Dalloway, but...
Yeah, but that was... I've always had this thing with these multi-protagonist stories, like where you see things from different angles and from different characters. And I wanted to do that in the film, and then I wanted to do it in the book too. So that's why we have 5 different angles on the same, well, not the same story, but they're all connected at the end, if you've read the end. So I wanted to have this urban feeling that we don't know how they're connected in the beginning. Of course, Mark and Maya, we find out pretty fast that they're siblings or twins, and Natalie and Maya, of course. But how are they connected to Agatha and, the whole thing? And then again, Mona is there, someone they don't even know exists. Yeah. So yeah, it's inspired by also films like Shortcut, and I'm very Robert Altman fan, Gosford Park and stories like that, where you kind of, follow different people and then they're connected in some way. I really like that. So
there's a lot of movies and books in this book.
Yes.
A lot of references.
Yes. Yeah. And opera and everything.
Opera as well, yes.
Yeah.
But you as an author, are you writing on inspiration or are you working hard for it?
inspiration.
Inspiration, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I actually feel like I'm not working hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I'm not one of those editing types. I kind of just write it and think this is perfect, and then someone else tells me that it's not perfect, and then I change it. But again, I kind of have the feeling that this is good, and you know, I take everything that comes to mind. And again, my whole sphere of inspiration is really a lot about film, theater, books, you know, nerdish thing. I'm really a nerd inside. I can, you know, but I'm also very general. So it's kind of a clash all the time, that sometimes I fall into this nerdy hole where I'm studying Figaro's Wedding or something. And then on other times it's just, you know, the world is very general, and my theme is very, you know, we have to see it from all sides. And so, yeah, it's like, in here it's very messy sometimes.
But when you started writing, did you know how it would end?
Do you mean if I'm a plotter or a pantser or what they call it?
Did you have a plan for them?
Well, they really like plans here in this place.
Yeah,
you know?
and Maya does.
Yeah,
She really likes plans.
Yeah, she likes plans too.
Yeah.
She's like, I wish I was a little bit more about like her, but I'm just not. Except for the whole doing lists things. I do lists all the time. The problem is I don't always follow them. But it's kind of funny because I don't write it down if I don't have to. But I think because I went to school where I studied film, and so I kind of just, that's how I'm programmed. So even though I may not write it all down, I kind of know anyway. And if I write it down, I can see, okay, there is actually the what's it called?
The dramatic curve.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I'm so schooled in it. But then a lot happens. And if actually my editor and me, we looked at the first synopsis for Hjerteblink, and it's not the same. No, that's not what happened in the story. So it changes, of course, also to get the most out of the characters. So I'm not a normal plotter, but if I'm forced to, I can. I'll say it like that.
But about the plot and the book, it's in a genre that people might think that is pretty shallow, but it's really deep. It's about big questions, your book, about loss and longing and looking for parents and missing children. And so it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, but that's because for me, these two things are like yin and yang. If you don't have, like, I didn't write it as a feel good, but I think I am feel good, like me. So I'm not into, you know, I don't write social realism or something like that. But I think that life is, as a theme, it's dark and it's light. And my favorite quote is from Leonard Cohen with "There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." That's like my theme. And again, yes, and in the second book it's gonna get even worse. But I think that, you know, you need the serious parts to also make fun of, or not fun of, but have the comic relief. Where that, for example, can be Mona sometimes. So yeah, I think that's very important for me.
And for us, I think it's a great balance between dark and light.
Yeah, and of course it ends well, but it doesn't, like, life doesn't just always end well.
No.
You know? No. But of course, I think hope is very important. Also, when I'm writing drama for kids, then I really think it's important that you have hope at the end.
Yeah.
Because or else, you know, that's just very important.
I'm gonna see what my next question is going to be. Yeah, Yeah, I've been thinking about, there's a scene in the book when Agatha is going to the opera and she's talking to the taxi driver, and she's saying what Figaro, the opera, is about. And in Swedish it is, egentligen handlar den väl om människor som vill ha något som de inte kan få. Och att det skapar många problem för dem. Att allt sker i kärlekens namn. And I think, isn't that about your book as well?
Yes, that's kind of why I wrote it.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and also because it's like a foreshadowing of what, you know, Agatha is gonna experience.
Yeah.
And both in when she finds out about Eric, but also in her, you know, in her life, and they're all searching. I think that's a theme for my characters.
Yeah.
They're all searching for something,
Yeah.
and they don't really know what it is. And for her, she may think that what she needs is order and, you know, like taking care of their precious image of that marriage, but in real life she needs a family.
Yeah.
And she never got a family, and that is also like small steps all the time that she, you know, she meets the pirate, which is actually inspired by my mom's boyfriend.
Oh.
Yes. And he talks about his grandchild, and she thinks about, well, I don't have a grandchild, you know, so it is something she's okay with not happening, but again, it's still a sorrow. So that's also why at the end she actually wants this family, and she wants Mona in her life. And, you know, even though they are the symbol of something very heartbreaking for her, because he betrayed her, and, you know, but she's not always good, because she was also the reason why Eric didn't have any contact with his kids. So it's all the time, these people are not perfect.
They're not perfect, and they're not black or white.
No, exactly.
More gray, and you can see,
they're flawed.
Yeah, you can see both sides of them. All of them. Yeah.
So that's very important.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a character, you know, again, if we talk about plot, in a crime, you have a plot, and that's the important part. But for me, it's the characters that are important. So, and if you have a character who's just like good all the time, then it gets a little bit boring.
Yeah, very boring. And I think about like Mark. He's quite an asshole. And still
no,
so
he's
broke.
not.
But
He's not
still,
an asshole.
No, but you can see that he's so broken. So you love him.
He's so broken.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually, and that's also, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but like in the third book that came in April in Denmark, like, he's the one I am most happy about at the end.
Oh.
Yes. I'm not gonna tell you.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
But he is like, I feel so, you know, for him. Because he's the really broken one.
Yeah.
And I have 3 sisters, and we 3 of us don't have any contact with our father anymore, by choice or by old bitter man syndrome. But Mark is actually the one who's like, I was my father's favorite, so I don't have that, you know, itch in the heart, but my sister does. So actually Mark is really inspired by her feeling of never having the love that she wanted so desperately. And also Maya is more me in that perspective, because I actually chose to not have contact. So it's again also how we react differently, and why we need to be very careful when we write stories. That's why I'm a fiction writer. I don't do autofiction, because if my 3 sisters, we were supposed to tell our childhood, it would not be comparable whatsoever. So that's why I just use it to like create a bigger picture in the fiction world, where you can, you know, mold it.
Yeah. And make it more like common
for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's of course, it's from something real. So I feel like all 5 are me.
Oh,
in some
all
way.
5 of them. Yeah.
All 5 of them, yes. And we all have an Agatha in our little hearts, and all she's doing is trying to like keep up her whole being, because when she finds out, then she could have totally cracked, but she's strong in her core. Yes, Mona is also
Mona
a dreamer.
Is special. She's special.
Yes, she's quite special.
Yeah.
I've always been a dreamer, and when I was younger, I was really like the princessy thing. But then it changed, and now I think the worst job you can get is being a princess. Seriously, wow. But she, I also saw a lot of Barbara Cotton. I loved it. Yes, and the film she's watching is a film that I remember watching as 12 years old, and I was like, Helena Bonham Carter was the one in the film, and I was like, oh, I want to become an actress from a Barbara Carter film. Yeah. So, and she's eating Burning Love, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a really weird dish, and she eats it from like frosting. You know, it's in the microwave, and it's mashed potatoes with bacon and onions. Not very Burning Love-ish, but that's what it's called in Denmark. Yeah.
So and Mona, I think we talked about that when we had our prep talk yesterday, but that she learned about life through books and movies.
Yeah. Not always the best
not always
way.
Good, no. But in with that perspective, I think it's so lovely that when Agatha is trying to reach her, trying to reach out, she's doing that in her like home, the library, and through books.
Yeah. They have that. They are actually kind of alike, those two. They have a inner loneliness. And then the reason why Mona is working at a library is because even though I'm not a librarian, I work with culture in a library. And it's actually the head, what's it called? Hovedbibliotek in Copenhagen.
Huvudbibliotek. Inte Kungliga biblioteket.
No, you know, like for common people. And it's actually the one that inspired that. And yeah, I find libraries like the perfect setting. And again, she gets stuck in that with the bridal dress, and you know, it's just fun. And then of course also to show how she is, how she thinks when she is like taking away all the crime and putting out love books, because she sees the world like that. You need more love in you know, and she doesn't really know anything about life. She has a very small no life or love. She has a very small life. So yeah.
And then we have Natalie.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's looking for someone to see her.
Yeah, she is also me. And actually the Nana is the exact story of my first, not love, but you know, the whole, when girls are friends, it becomes a symbiotic love story. May not have sex in it, but it has so much feeling, and it's the worst thing if that fails or if it breaks. And I have not been, you know, cutting or anything, but I really can understand why she feels so alone. Also the whole moving from another country and the whole loneliness in that part. Not that she wasn't alone in the other country, she just, you know, so that's also why I love the whole Maya Natalie thing. And I remember one of my editor's favorite scenes was the one where Maya is trying to find out what they're gonna eat, and then she just buys everything to be sure, and then Natalie doesn't come home, and you know, so they're all trying in their awkward ways.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking to see both Maya and Natalie trying so hard and misunderstanding.
So, and it is hard to be a, you know, to be put together like that. You don't choose your bonus children, you don't choose your bonus mom, and you kind of have to figure it out. But that's also why I, of course, chose the ending as it is, you know, that I really like, you know. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite character of those 5?
Again, no.
No.
Because they're all me. So, and they're all, I think Mark, maybe because he was so difficult, he was like the difficult child also to write, because he's a man, and that is something I'm not. So to, you know, and he was always, it was so difficult to get him where I wanted him. But then at the end, he's the one I feel is the most, you know, beautiful story after 3 books. So, like that. Yeah, and I think his whole journey is very, very interesting, because he's not that, you know, he could have been this guy who's like just really like Maya, but he's just not, and he's just a failure in his own perspective, and that's the sad part, because he's a really good guy, just really does some stupid things. So, but that's gonna be in book number 2.
In book number 2.
Book number 2, because that's an open ending with him. So he's on a plane and going to Berlin.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
Exciting. Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I know.
You know, yeah. And Agatha is named after Agatha Christie.
Yes.
Is she one of your favorite authors, or?
I haven't read like so much, but once I saw a play, and it was mind-blowing for me, and it has put so much like into me that she's you know, she's the mother of crime, and I don't write crime, so it's not like that, but some of the things that I think she has in common with, like Stephen King, for example, I love how he makes characters, and I think that she's just like, she's so iconic. And then it was fun to name her after, like her mother names her after Agatha Christie. And then Agatha is like, no, not for me. I am not that kind of person. So she changes her name to Agatha.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, so.
But in the end, she is
exactly
the
that's
detective
the fun part
of the story.
Exactly, that's the fun part. So, but yeah, I'm again a nerdish kind of. So the things that I've grown up with, also reading, is like really, you know, like when I was a kid, it was Anne of Green Gables and the Three Musketeers, and then everything with Dumas. I read everything. So I'm kind of old school in my reading things, and I was also one of those kids that when they saw a Disney film, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, then I read the book afterwards and found out that it was not the same ending whatsoever. So yeah, so I'm, and also the whole, like Dumas did like long stories. Actually, it was in the magazines and in episodes. So that's kind of like here. When you do
Episodic.
Yeah, I like that. And I like series, and I like something that keeps on going forever.
Let's see if we have any questions from you.
Oh, there is one, I think.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Where is Maya and Mark's mom?
Oh, yeah. Well, she dies.
She dies?
Yeah, and it says in the book.
Oh.
She has, she dies of cancer, as far as I remember. Well, she does. And Maya is, I don't remember if that's probably later. I'm sorry if I'm now, but she has a thing with hospitals. I think that's in this one. She does not like hospitals because there's memories of, you know, her mother and yeah, but she dies. I think she's passed away a couple of years before the story starts. So they are orphans, and I think that's also mentioned that, you know, they actually are. And Maya was at Eric's funeral, but Mark wasn't, but and that's where she also like saw Agatha. Yeah.
And what about Japan? There's a lot about Japan in your book.
Yes.
Do you have like a special connection with Japan? No.
But Agatha is a little bit inspired by my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived in Japan because he was a, big shot in a big company, and they traveled around and they lived in Japan. And then I think Japan has so many beautiful, like they just had so many things I could use with the whole sakura and the broken heart syndrome. And I always wanted to go to Japan, so it's gonna happen one time. And my sister has lived there, so yeah, I just found it exotic. And also the whole thing again about Agatha has been away, they have lived a whole different life, and it made so much sense with the kids. There was that made it a little bit more not okay, but for Agatha it was kind of an excuse to because they've been away. But then my uncle, I don't think he made any funny business or anything. So, but the problem was a little bit that when my aunt read it, she at the beginning was like, this is so inspired by me, and she was very proud. And then I never heard anything more about it. Yeah. But it's fiction. Yeah, she's fiction. Just inspired by, because she's also very, like, she is, yeah. So she's not gonna watch this, I think.
And if she is, I think you love her.
Yeah, of course. Oh, so, there's another one.
Yeah, and what is the thing with Mona and wedding dresses?
Yes. Well, first of all, I think all, well, not all girls, but, we all want to try it out, And I've thought about doing this thing that she's doing in a little bit manic way. I haven't done it. I've done it with costumes. Like me and a friend, we went into this big costume store and pretended that we were going to this mask ball, and then we tried a lot of dresses on, but we weren't going to any parties.
And you didn't steal them?
No, we didn't steal them. We didn't steal them, but we tried a lot of dresses, which I think also is pretty annoying if they don't really rent anything or buy anything. So I just think that it's really funny. And in the movie that I made, the short film, the whole thing where she throws them out and Natalie finds, then it was to connect the two, so Natalie is actually saved by Mona without them, connecting. And in the film, the last dress, is again the whole, she doesn't throw the one she's wearing. So she puts that on the hanger again, and then you can think, is she just gonna start all over? Yeah. Or is this the one she's just gonna, now it's over with the whole thing. So that was also from the film, and then it just developed, and she stole dresses, and she runs down Strøget or Købmagergade and ends up in the library, and then Nikolaj has to save her and everything. So it just became more and more fun to play with. But yeah, that's why.
And in Denmark, the whole series is out, and we are waiting in Sweden for book 2 and 3. But in Denmark, were you involved with choosing the narrator for the book? The voice?
Yes, I was.
You were?
Yeah. I think I had some options. And first I had a whole different idea about who was going to do it. But then Laura Drasbæk, who's a very great actress, she had that both, because it's 5 characters, 1 man, one 16-year-old, one 76-year-old, and then, you know, something in between. So it had to be a very versatile voice. And she has had a lot of praise, and we actually won the Mofibo Award for the second book. And that was funny because when the jury read about the second one, then it was again with the whole, they mentioned, okay, so there is, well, now I can't say it, right? Because you don't have the second book. But there was very many big, like, heart-breaking themes, but in a very feel-good way. Yeah. So that is also the one in the first one. So yeah, I actually had a say in that. And then when you chose one, you gotta continue. And we were also nominated this year, but we didn't win. But that was also because it was in the romance category. And I understand if people that love romance would find that a bit disappointing, because I'm not really doing the romance thing. So, but the second one was novel of the year.
Novel of the year, of course. So we have quite a book to look forward to.
Yes,
Novel
you
of
do.
the year.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's see if there are any more questions in the end.
Oh, there's something about the film. I can afterwards put it. It's in something called. Yeah, I think I would need to do the link thing. That would probably be the easiest part.
And will the pirate be in the other books?
He's in every book, all of them.
So
yes.
Linda, he'll be there.
He'll be there. I promise. He's the go-to guy. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. He's not like, you know, but he's the voice of reason, actually. In all these crazy people who's like, yeah, then the pirate is the solid anchor. He's Natalie's anchor because he's his her granddad. And he's Agatus, he's going to be. Yeah, he's just a really good, solid, calm fellow.
Yeah.
Who's and he's just he can see people for who they are, which the others can't always do because they're so into themselves. But he's really, yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, when he comes with this little flower that's not a good flower, it's an invasive species, and she's like, yeah, so he's very nice. Yeah. Yes, perfect, Sanne. What's the book in Danish?
På danska heter boken Hjerteblink.
Ja, Hjerteblink-trilogin.
Och sen är det Hjärteband.
Hjertebånd och Hjertebrist.
Hjärtebrist.
Ja,
precis.
Precis.
Så de finns på danska. Och de kan man ju lyssna på i svenska tjänsten också om man vill.
Ja,
så,
man kan också høre den på engelsk.
På engelska också.
Ja, ja. Altså kun den første faktisk. Men den lyder også ret. Oh, I started speaking Danish. Sorry. It's also in English.
Oh, I think we're gonna end there.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for joining me in this talk.
It was so nice to...
Thank you all listeners.
Yay. And we will put the link up.
Yeah.
I promise. And then I hope you will enjoy. And I can't wait to hear... I haven't heard anything of the Julia Duvenius. Yeah. I really want to listen because, as we talked about, Swedish is... So it's going to be so much fun to like listen to how it's pronounced in Swedish. Yay.
Okej, så hej då. Fint att ni tittade. Ha det bra. Hej då.
Bye bye.